Hi, my name is Liesl Woods. I'm part of the Global Action Research Collaborative Fellows of 2023, and I'm going to take you through a little of the context and results of my findings this year. I work at Strathcona Girls Grammar School, an independent school in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, Australia. Our school has approximately 800 students prepped to Year 12, with 3 campuses, unique facilities, and a plethora of co-curricular activities to keep students thriving. Students in an average week would undertake practical classes in sport, music, art, drama, cooking, and swimming. In 2020, our school went into lockdown along with the rest of Victoria due to the pandemic. This inspired radical changes in the face of education, but it also took away from the practical components that students so adored in their classes, as well as the social and emotional learning in face-to-face teaching. During the initial days of lockdown, students were at first excited by the prospect of schooling online from home. However, the novelty wore off as the unforeseeable end of the limitations became more unnerving. The Global Action Research Collaborative undertook the topic, The Global Reset, New Opportunities for Educating Girls. In considering the impacts and the takeaways from the years of online learning, several areas of focus drew me to research them. The significant use of interactive technologies used during online learning were continued in use by staff when they returned to campus. These were made more accessible during the lockdown due to technology upgrades, free plans for teachers and students, and during the lockdowns it allowed mass audiences to participate in gamified programs. Research has shown that these so-called audience response systems, ARS, increased engagement, promoted competition, and were generally more preferred by students. The gamified nature of these activities was a drawcard for the students, and the ability to be anonymous on these programs encouraged quieter students to participate in the class. Examples of ARS technology include anything as simple as using a poll or asking each student to share a GIF or emoji rather than putting up their hand and responding verbally. ARS are defined by Martin 2007 as technology used to promote active learning. They typically use clickers, which are considered handheld individual devices such as a phone or laptop, where students can respond to a question or task independently and often anonymously. In my action research, I used Kahoots and Slido, slightly different technologies, one being gamified, competitive, and knowledge-based, that's the Kahoots, while the other allows student voice with open prompts during a presentation, and that's Slido. Through my research, I wanted to discover if the use of these ARS systems would enhance confidence of girls to participate in class discussions. And so my action research question was, to what extent does the use of audience response systems influence Year 7 girls' confidence to engage in discussions in the history classroom? I followed the action research methodology provided by Mertler in planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. You can see this in the flowchart and how the intervention worked within this. The context for my action research group was a Year 7 history class in semester 2, undertaking 20 classes over 8 weeks. This involved several different units of topics, and the class size was 24 female students with 8 students involved in the focus group. The data I collected throughout the project was qualitative and quantitative. I collected teacher journal of observations, which I corroborated with student comments, and the focus group allowed us to discuss some of the content of the surveys. The quantitative data involved a survey of Likert scales and frequency of participation in class, as well as a Rosenberg self-esteem survey. The exit tickets after each class were rated on participation, enjoyment and confidence, and each student filled these out after each class. So what was it that I actually did for the intervention? Essentially, I started each lesson with an audience response system task, such as the use of Kahoot or Slido, in an activity that had content knowledge. Following this, I would ask students open-ended questions that they could volunteer to respond to. At times, this was in small groups, or most of the time it was in a larger class forum. At the end of each class, students would have time to complete an exit ticket, and to give a baseline comparison, some classes began with an alternative, non-digital activity such as brainstorm session, worksheet or group challenge. In undertaking the literature review, articles since the lockdowns reflected the disengagement and sharp decline in mental health of students. The UN policy brief on education during the COVID-19 pandemic stated that it was the largest disruption to education systems in history. Evidence also showed a 25% prevalence of anxiety and depression after the lockdowns, decline in attendance and an increase in school refusal. There was an increasing gap in social and emotional maturity, and engagement declined due to fear of judgment, self-image and humiliation. There was an increasing gap of social and emotional maturity that was recognised following online learning due to such differing experiences of individuals and their isolating experiences, among other difficulties faced by students and their families. For girls in particular, the impacts were heavy. In a regular year, self-image issues and a decline in self-confidence are common in the middle school when compared with boys, and when compounded with the impacts of lockdowns, there was a need, when returning to campuses, to emphasise resourcing well-being, confidence and connection for girls. Many students were reluctant to participate in online forums, with 50% of students completely disengaged according to LL and Dayton. In the classroom, this silent voice is a common occurrence and is also termed communication apprehension. During online learning, this was more prevalent. However, for some students who would normally not participate in class discussions, they showed interest in participating in digital technologies such as chats, polls, and the ARS programs. Literature showed a variety of research in this area of silent voices, with very few success stories other than think, pair, share methodology, which proved to generate more confidence in discussions through small group sharing. When reflecting on communication apprehension, students from my class shared comments about the barriers they faced when asked to share in class discussions. Each of these indicated a fear of failure, fear of judgment, or feeling that they didn't know enough. Research showed girls as being less hesitant in online forums when compared to boys, and due to this, it was anticipated that from the Action Research Project, girls would enjoy and participate in the digital activities. There was some conflicting information regarding girls and their approach towards competition. Although stereotypically girls may have found a way to shy away from competition due to conflict and issues with peer judgment, in an anonymous forum and in a single-sex environment, they are more likely to flourish according to Booth and Nolan. Through the pre-intervention survey, we can see this data, with more students strongly agreeing to participating in ARS programs. In the classroom, our girls demonstrated their flair for competition. In my journal of observations, I was able to frequently note times when students appeared excited, noisy, and exuberant when participating in ARS programs. This enthusiasm definitely helped bring out student voice during the activity, while students also reported that if they felt excited or if they felt they'd gained knowledge from the ARS program, that they would be more likely to participate in class discussions. Literature regarding ARS supported these observations, showing that ARS increase engagement and give a platform for student silent voices. The anonymity of ARS platforms is widely discussed in helping to lower communication apprehension for students. However, there was little literature on the combination of whether ARS activities would assist in creating greater student voice in a verbal sense during live discussions.
I think being anonymous, it also matters because you might not feel confident to say something if you're wrong or something. So you just, other people don't know, so you might feel not judged.
I feel like it helps you feel more confident in the moment, but then after you feel like you still want to go anonymous. So I feel like it kind of doesn't really help.
Other benefits shown from ARS research included greater outcomes when rewards were involved. Mostly these were intrinsic rewards from having achieved a score or place in the class. One further benefit was creating a sense of community through the interaction involved in the connection-based nature of these programs. The study found that students had a preference for ARS activities compared to non-ARS activities, with engagement and gamification in ARS producing greater enthusiasm to learn through face-to-face discussion forums. Students showed an increase in confidence to participate when activities were anonymous, but this did not appear to transfer to confidence in later verbal class discussions. Students identifying as extroverts were more likely to join discussions, and students noted that barriers to participating included fear of being wrong, fear of judgment. Findings did not suggest that self-esteem is associated with participation in discussions, though many students felt that their confidence increased during small group discussions due to peer encouragement. Further research into the barriers mentioned, as well as strategies to overcome them, would be beneficial in future. One surprising outcome that came about from the study was students' near unanimous belief that they felt more confident to participate in larger discussions if they'd initially participated in small group settings.
Yeah, I like the group or the partner ones because when you're by yourself, you feel like maybe yours isn't good enough or something, and you don't feel as confident sharing it. But when you're with someone else, they're it's also their work, and then so you both can you can both help each other to know that it's good. And then
if you have someone else that you can kind of talk to about the topic, it's easier to grasp it, and also it's probably easier to generate ideas rather than if you're by yourself.
It's just more comfortable sharing and getting to know each other, and working together is way more fluent, I guess, than by yourself.
So in conclusion, as the purpose of this action research was to essentially provide ways of bringing out quieter students, the students with silent voices, I guess the outcome of this project identified some areas of further research, including overcoming the barriers of fear, of failure, and fear of judgment. Cycle 2 of this action research could explore further the idea of the identified barriers and motivators for participating in class, but it could do so through the use of other digital tools such as chat forums that allow students to participate verbally as such online, but without being an extrovert, having to put up their hand, having to stand in front of a class to contribute. Other ideas of other platforms to use might include using an app for goal setting so that students can monitor their own confidence and resilience, as well as challenge their own idea of participating in classes. If we can increase the confidence through looking at what lowers inhibitions to the fear of peer judgment and the fear of being wrong, students may feel more engaged. And this may in turn increase their well-being. Teaching models like the Think, Pair, Share concept have been successful in the past and have potential in increasing student confidence to participate. For the final history lessons of my action research, I utilised the feedback from the project to provide small group tasks. This was very popular with students, and they felt typically more confident in participating in small groups. So I'll leave you with a few images of these where students are clearly engaged, vocal, and enjoying themselves.